It has been 35 years since the reunification of West and East Germany. Today, German Chancellor Friedrich Merz marked the anniversary with a warning that liberal democracies, including Germany, are under attack at home and from abroad. French President Emmanuel Macron was also on hand, and he urged Germany to take on a bigger role in Europe.
A show of unity between the leaders of the two largest EU countries. The French president was the guest of honour at the German reunification celebrations just a few kilometres from the border between Germany and France. The German Chancellor expressed what he sees as necessary in the future amid the ongoing discussion in Europe about how to deal with the threats to the continent's security.
The world's centres of power are shifting in a way we haven't experienced since the end of the Cold War. An axis of autocratic states that challenges the liberal order worldwide is directly confronting Western democracies. Therefore, we must become capable again of defending our freedom.
Words echoed by the French president.
The beginning of a new era, a new epoch, one that will lead Europeans to make a choice, as well as to continue accepting a form of dependency, whether comfortable or uncomfortable, depending on whom they depend upon, or to finally become, for the first time, a military power. Not a continent arming itself to wage a war against itself, but a continent deciding to stand at the forefront to deter others from attacking it, to protect its territory and to defend its values.
The ceremony in the Saarland comes decades after the fall of the Berlin Wall and the opening of borders. It led to East Germany being integrated into the Federal Republic of Germany, the formal name for West Germany. It ended more than 40 years of division after World War II, but the consequences of reunification still continue to shape Germany's political landscape and economy. Back in the Saarland, Merz expressed his vision for the future.
We want to be a European country that is open to the world. Because all of this, democracy, the rule of law, economic innovation and solidarity, is what makes Europe as a whole.
A message with added resonance in the light of the war in Ukraine and recent Russian incursions into European airspace.
Let's bring in DW's Alex Gerst, who is at Berlin's Brandenburg Gate for us. So, Alex, 35 years of unity. Would you say that Germans' hearts and minds are united?
Well, that pretty much depends on who you ask. So what we know is that, according to a recent survey, 61% of Germans, they say that they are either satisfied or even very satisfied with how things are here in Germany regarding the reunification. But it's interesting to note that if you ask people in East Germany, then only 50% would agree to this statement. This partly has to do with the divisions that are still visible. For example, when we talk about economy, the average income is lower in East Germany than in the West. The average inheritance is lower in East Germany than in the West. This also has to do with that it was restricted to acquire property in the former East German state. And also the overall feeling of representation in German society is lower in East Germany. And just to give you one statistic on that, only 4% of high-ranking business leaders in German enterprises, they come from East Germany, despite East Germans making up around 15% of the overall population here in Germany.
There's still talk, Alex, about the so-called wall in the mines. Is this wall visible in the polls?
Well, in current nationwide polls, we can say that the far-right AfD is now polling either first or second. That depends a bit on the institute that is doing those surveys. But what's interesting is that if we look at the statewide polls, then the far-right AfD is constantly leading those polls in 5 German states, and those 5 German states are the Eastern German states. So we can clearly see that there's kind of a bias here. This could have to do with economics. So we know that there's a correlation, or at least there was correlation in recent elections with in districts of lower income. There's a higher likelihood that people will vote for the far-right AfD. And the AfD is also very visible in rural areas, so they put lots of efforts into being on the ground in eastern German districts, very often also in districts where state-backed actors already have left, and the AfD is filling the gap there.
What can we expect today in terms of ceremonies?
Well, Emmanuel Macron, the French president, was invited to festivities in West Germany, in Saarland, in Saarbrücken. And also Friedrich Merz, the German Chancellor, he will give an address, his first address as German Chancellor on German Unity Day. But we should not expect him to talk too much about the reunification itself. We rather expect a speech that will focus on challenges that lie ahead. For example, the war in Ukraine that is still ongoing and not solved. But also the struggling German economy. Friedrich Merz has also already said that he wants Germans to work more, and that he is also open to cuts to the social welfare system here in Germany. So we are expecting an address, a speech that could be uncomfortable to many Germans.
Alex Gerst, thank you.